Welcome to another special edition of G-Rated. I'm your host, Gerald Bourget, and today I'm joined by Shawn, Espo, and Max to talk about Glass Onion, the Knives Out sequel that I'd been waiting forever for. And then I was waiting forever for because I saw it during the 1 week it was in theaters and nobody else did. And I had to wait for it to hit Netflix. But I'm so excited. So, guys, just initial thoughts watching this movie.
For me, I loved the first one. I was more entertained by the second one. The first one was a great mystery. This was a great entertaining movie to me.
Yeah. To me, this was an immaculate whodunit for a number of reasons. I mean, the casting in it was flawless, and the characters were so I think more interesting than the first movie, and just a little more dynamic in that sense, and just. I just thought it was so well done, and I think they properly adjusted for the fact that people watching this movie now knew what they were getting themselves into. And so I thought it was phenomenal.
Yeah, I think that's actually crazy. I thought I was the only one who saw it in theaters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude, it was awesome seeing it in theaters. Pretty much echoing what these guys have said. Massive fan of this one. I think the first one was really driven by more of the plot and the whole dynamic of what Knives Out is. And then this one, you really let the characters just shine alive. A lot of the characters, the actors and actresses people knew, and they were just absolutely incredible. Some of them I haven't seen on screen in a role like this in a while, and I thoroughly was entertained by it.
Right. I liked how a lot of the twists were not plot driven, kind of like the first one, but they were literally just characters not understanding the meaning of words, or like Miles Braun basically taking Benoit Blanc's idea about turning the lights off. And it's just little touches like that kind of subverted it and made it more, like you said, entertaining as opposed to plot driven.
The sweatshop line was my
oh
favorite.
my god!
Did you actually think a sweatshop's where they made sweatpants?
I was dying.
I mean, technically it is.
But yeah, so you mentioned the cast, and that was the biggest thing that stood out to me. Who was your MVP of the film?
I mean, I have a soft spot for Leslie Odom Jr., but I think it's Janelle Monáe. I think she was so good, and the fact that she essentially played kind of three characters, because she played the both sisters, and then she played the sister pretending to be the sister.
Right.
So it's like that. I just think her performance was so impressive to me, and I like seeing her act too. So that was just cool. And then I just think her character was obviously so important to the story and was so well done. She was definitely my MVP.
I love David Bautista because I think we found the sweet spot for him in this movie in particular. He obviously doesn't take himself too seriously. Played that role really well.
Duke don't dance with pineapple.
Yeah, I mean, it epitomized so much of what we see in culture today too. I loved his character in this.
I don't know if there is a wrong answer for this one. I mean, to me, I feel it's the easy one. It is Daniel Craig. He in the first movie, he was so cerebral and calculated, and yet he really made you feel conversational when he was talking to the other characters. And then this movie, he was hilarious. I honestly didn't know that he had that in him. He's a great actor. I figure he would rise to the occasion, but the fact that he almost comes across as, oh, well, let's see. Well, if we had this, this, and this, and then he solves the entire mystery within 5 minutes of the movie, and then he's just and then it's just crazy how all the characters play well off each other. But he can go from funny to just straight up assassin-like, of breaking down, being cerebral, being that assassin of, this is what happened, let me solve this entire thing now. I loved it. He's so dynamic.
Yeah, what I love about him too is some actors you look and you go, that's Will Ferrell playing this guy, or that's Tom Hanks,
or it's oh, okay, so that's James Bond playing.
Right.
Yeah. Didn't feel
I 100% agree.
You forget that he played James Bond because it's such a different character. He even looks different to the point where you're like, I couldn't imagine that guy being James Bond.
Right.
He did a superb job.
Yeah.
Right. And the accent is, I mean, it was hilarious in the first one. It's even better hearing him yell shitballs or something like that in this one. His exasperation at everything that he was unfurling about Miles's Braun's plot and how he kind of wrapped his mind around it was hilarious to me. But it was just the little touches for me of when Janelle Monáe's character gets shot and you see the tear come down, and then there goes to the flashback and you realize he was the one that kind of put the wheels in motion. and then it flashes forward again, and you realize he's not crying. He put Jeremy Renner's hot sauce in his eyes.
By the way, Jeremy Renner's hot sauce needs to be a thing.
Oh yes,
I'd buy a case of Jeremy Renner's hot sauce.
We need the hot sauce. We don't need Jared Leto's kombucha. However, we can do without that.
I loved those little throw-ins too, because you're like
the Serena Williams training thing. Because the funny part about that is she could hear them, so she clearly knows like the whole plot of what's going on, and she's just like, "Are y'all trying to train or no? I'm on retainer." Like, that part was so funny to me.
Oh yeah, it was great, and like the random guy that kept popping up. What was his name? Was it Doug?
Something like that. But that was the thing for me with this whole movie is the deception, because that kind of getting to what I said earlier with how like they properly adjusted for the fact that everyone knew what they were getting themselves into. I was talking about this with Max. There's a number of things in this movie where there's stuff like that, right? Like there's characters who are not involved at all, like the assistant. I mean, Whiskey kind of, and then obviously the roommate or whatever. Like they're people that are there, and based on it being a mystery movie, you're thinking these people have to be involved somehow. Right. And then but there's small details where like right before Duke dies, you see him like bump shoulders with, I can't remember the character's name, but the politician.
Right.
And I'm like, that's something.
Yeah.
I'm like, and it really wasn't. Like I was like, they passed something off because they're about to kill Miles. And like I was completely wrong. And they had these little things that threw you off the scent. And then obviously the whole thing of that, like you think it's going to be some complex thing because that's what the first movie was. Yeah. And the whole time it was just the obvious answer.
Yeah, I mean, my first instinct, and all these TV shows and dramas that you watch, it usually is the thing that sticks out that makes no sense is usually what it comes back around to being the answer. So in the first 5 minutes, I thought it was that random, don't pay any attention to Doug. He's just here.
Literally.
Don't pay any attention to him. Yeah.
And it's like, they're telling you that, and everything you've learned in Hollywood is that's the guy to keep your eyes on, and then it literally meant nothing. And that was so much fun. There were so many red herrings that you wanted to like grasp onto.
I mean, it's literally a glass onion. Like it's like the whole thing. Like you think there's all these layers to it, but you can just look into the middle of it. Like you could see what it is. It's the obvious answer. I
mean, I think like in the first movie where they're telling the entire story through the prism and perspective of the one. Guy, what is it? The guy, the old guy, his caretaker. Yeah. That's the entire thing where you frame it through that. And then with this one, you allow all the characters to be a target. And there are so many smoke screens. There is so much going on where you let the characters be so dynamic that it's so entertaining to figure out, well, it could be this person, it could be this person, it could be this person. And they just, I think it makes it so replicatable that it didn't feel like a sequel. It didn't feel at all like this is going to be the same dried up story. They could make multiple more movies and they can come at it from so many different angles. I loved it.
It was literally Clue. Like, and that's the whole thing. Like at the beginning of the game, he's like, I hate Clue. I don't do good at dumb things. And the whole plot was dumb as shit. Like it was Miles was being super transparent. It was super dumb, and that's why it took him so long to figure it out, because he's not good with dumb things. Right. So that part of it was fascinating, because the first one was so complex, and it was like all these little things. This one was just right in front of you.
And I think you're touching on a key point of this, is that like all those little details that you learn about the characters in the beginning all come, like every character's arc, I feel like, or storyline was completed in some way. Like to where it made sense. Like they didn't have to be the person behind the murder, but it all made sense. And the way that they use like Whiskey when Janelle Monáe leaves and says, leave his ass. And then they have the misunderstanding as far as like, I don't feel sorry for him. He got what he deserved. Like just little things like that, and like the Kate Hudson character showing up with the mask that has holes all over, like just those little details. Really, I love that. And I got to give a shout out to Kate Hudson and Edward Norton, because as much as like Janelle Monáe was probably my MVP, but like Kate Hudson was just so perfectly dumb. That it was great. But just with like a little pinch of like, okay, she could actually like mess some stuff up if she wanted to. And Norton, his Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg hybrid was just terrific.
Like it was perfect. He was a rich guy who everyone thought was smart, and just like you look like this guy's an idiot.
Yep.
He's using words that don't make sense.
Imbreviate.
He hasn't done anything. Like this is a dumb person. But everyone, just because he has money, basically is like, that guy must know what he's doing.
Yeah, all he did was steal an idea.
Yeah, literally. At all.
Is Edward Norton getting typecast now? He was the twist villain in Italian Job.
Yeah.
Fight Club technically as well.
Yeah.
And then this movie, like, is he just? We all should have saw
He's
it because it's
perfectly
happened.
hateable, but also trustworthy. Like
Right.
it's like you could tell something's off, but he hasn't really given you a reason to think that something's off. But something is off.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you're just like intrigued because the first scene you see of him, there's the Banksy stupid dock that rises from the water. You're like, wow, that's kind of cool without thinking about the ramifications. And then you see him playing his little guitar on the beach that like was Paul McCartney's, and then he just like throws it to the side. He's like, I just want to have a chill weekend. There's like a robot behind him, like holding all the bags and
He
shit.
is a fucking Mona Lisa. Right. That one scene where everything was like was about to pop off, and it keeps like going back to it, shutting over, like, and all the stuff's going on. I was so anxious.
Yes.
I was like, some shit's about to go down. And I thought like stuff like that was flawless. Like even outside of like the actual movie, like I thought it was a very like pretty movie. Like it was visually a very interesting movie, and then just like how they kept you on edge the whole time. Like it was just in every kind of facet, in my opinion. Like it was such a well done mystery movie, and it kept you on your edge the whole time.
I think you brought up just there was hints to. This isn't as complicated as you think.
Yep.
Like when they send the box and everybody's trying to figure out the puzzle, and then Janelle Monáe's character just smashes the shit out of it to get to it. It's like, yeah, that's all you have to do here. This isn't this isn't complex. It's just smash through it. It's right there, you know?
Yeah. And I love kind of that central theme as far as, you know, targeting kind of the elite, the 1%, as being thinking they're smarter than they really are. Like Kate Hudson was like, it's so dumb, it's brilliant. He's like, no, it's just dumb. That type of stuff made me laugh. I also had to give a shout out to the line that like everybody has been posting on Twitter and social media, but when Benoit tells her it's a dangerous thing to mistake speaking without thought for speaking the truth. I almost stood up and cheered at that.
No, I was just sitting in my house. I was like,
how many times have you wanted to say that on the Sun show?
I'm gonna say 0. I'm gonna say 0 to keep the peace. I know this is difficult because we've already talked about a lot of them, but your favorite moment of the film?
I loved the scene at the very end when they were all like sprinting to the Mona Lisa. It was so dramatic, and it was just like I don't know. It was just such a great like triumphant moment. The way it was in slow motion, all of it. I thought
And the song, fun. The Mona Lisa song, slow mo, and Edward Norton's face when he like realizes, and then he's like diving and misses his tackle. That was great.
I loved where Benoit says, basically, I can't do anything else.
Yes.
But really, he's telling her what to do, and then the subsequent smashing of everything. I think we've all felt the way she does in that moment before, and we've all wanted to do what she does, but
literally
don't
blow up shit up.
Yeah. And I loved that. It was cathartic in a lot of ways.
I think to me it was it's hard to narrow down to a scene, but it was essentially when they started the flashback after she got shot, and it just gives you the mind blow of, wait a second, she literally Janelle Monáe is putting on 2 different accents. She's putting on 2 completely different lives. And then you kind of play the mind game of, wait, she's not on the ship by herself, not because she's trying to isolate herself, but because she is terrified of the boat and everything going on, and just so many different things that are like, it appears one way and not the other. I think she encapsulated it perfectly during that flashback.
Yeah, it like I said earlier, she's playing somebody else. I have to imagine it's pretty damn difficult.
Yeah, especially for someone whose background is not like acting. Like I was very impressed with her. I laughed the hardest at the sweatshops line because that was just fantastic. I also the theater that I was in got a kick out of when she's lying there pretending to be dead, and the hot sauce
it's
like
dripping down her
dribbles into her nose. But for me, like the glass smashing scene, and like you said, Espo, just kind of the realization, like this is where his jurisdiction ends, but he kind of put her on, like, you know, here's what you can do about it.
I'm curious what you guys think, because there was the scene when right before Duke dies, and you keep seeing him pick up the wrong glass, but then it goes back and they like change it where you could see him handing him the glass,
right?
Like, because I feel like for most of this movie everything is right in front of you, but that's like the one time where the movie legitimately lies to you, like and I get that's the kind of the point, like everyone saw something different, and it's like that whole thing where you're not really good at remembering stuff,
right?
But I like Do you like them doing
So-
that? Like, kind of, I guess, lying to you like that?
So watching it the second time, I was keeping an eye on it because it shows it 3 times. It like shows it very briefly, like, but it's
When it
not
actually-
something you're paying attention to because you're watching Kate Hudson dance in a peacock dress. And so he does actually hand it to him the first time, and then the second time it's the retelling or the recreation of it that lies to you, and then it goes back and shows, oh no, wait, actually he did hand it. So I thought, because I wanted to see, I was like, did they like just skim over that, or what did they do? And they did show the truth of what happened, but I thought it was handled so cleverly because, like you said, you're focused on these other details, like who bumps into who, or like all these other things.
And it's how the brain works. I mean, you're gonna fill in the gaps that you're not seeing, and that's what that second scene of it is everybody filled in the gap of what they just assumed.
And I mean, ultimately, like we talked about, the whole basis of the movie is like, you're not like, these characters aren't as smart as you think, and like that's kind of what they're doing to you. Like they keep on making you think. Like it happened to me. Like I thought, like, okay, this is a mystery movie. I'm gonna be looking for these little details, and I was like too smart for myself. I thought I was smarter than I was, and I was looking at all the wrong things. Like I was falling for the deception.
It literally told you from the start, this is the glass onion. It's it seems convoluted, and you try to peel back the layers, but the
Look right into the center.
Is right at the center of it.
My favorite throwaway thing, I want to hear what you guys had if there was a little moment. It was Hugh Grant showing up. Yeah. And I'm like, all right then.
Yes.
So we've got the answer to his sexuality.
Yeah.
And it's Hugh Grant that's his boyfriend. All right.
I loved that. Those little touches like that, like him, like the Serena Williams thing, like just those little random moments where you're like, oh, that's pretty funny.
The 4 people on the screen when he's in the bathtub.
Yeah.
It's Angela Lansbury, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the one from Russian Doll. And, like it's just that's just funny to me that there were just little throwaways like that.
You want to be friends with Benoit Blanc is what I'm getting from this. Any complaints, gripes, things about the movie that you didn't like?
I thought I wasn't a massive fan of the ending because I don't know. I also don't know how else you tie it together where. He has the note in hand. It's like, yay, mystery solved. And then he just straight up burns it. And then it's like, well, I'm not going to vouch for you. I'm not going to vouch for you. And then it kind of just disappears into everyone sitting together and not trying to do anything. It just ends in like a fizzle. I wasn't a massive fan of the ending, but I just don't know how you do it better.
I struggled with the reveal a little bit because it felt like you went half the movie where it was all this one very specific way, and then and I think it was the purpose, but then it seems so simple. It seems like you feel stupid in the second half, and I think that's what they were setting up for, but it felt a little clunky the way they got there. Like I don't know, for me it felt a little clunky, like there could have been a smoother way to get into the aha and the reveal of it all. But I don't really have any problems with it, to be honest. Like the only one thing where I was just like I just talked about being too smart. Like as soon as Duke died, I knew he was poisoned with the pineapple. Because when he had said Duke don't dance with pineapple, I thought the line was hilarious and it stuck with me. I was just like, I feel like that's going to be important. Right. And I had said that about a bunch of other things that weren't important. Yeah. But that one, I was just like, okay, I know what happened here. I didn't know all the circumstances around it, but I knew that there was definitely pineapple in his drink, and that's how he died. I want a shirt that says "Duke don't
dance."
That's by far my favorite line in the movie.
I missed that line when it happened, and I didn't think anything of it. And then when it was revealed that it was pineapple, I was like, "Oh, that makes sense," and it's hilariously dumb that's how he would kill him.
I also, this is kind of unrelated, but I found it very interesting how even the trailers for this were misleading, because like the whole thing, you think it's going to be this game where Edward Norton's faking his death, and then it's over immediately, which was also one of my favorite parts of the movie. And then right when that thing shoots him, like minutes later, I was just like, that's pretty funny. And everyone was like, oh, look at that. Benoit has no idea that he's just ruined this guy's entire thing, and he's had all like a mystery writer write the whole thing.
And he's like, well, what's the prize?
He's like, here's the iPad. Which was a completely fair question. Like you think it's a game, and this guy doesn't really know what's going on. You think it's going to be like, all right, like there's a game, there's going to be some prize here. Like, no, this is just some guy who's a rich guy with his friends.
Right. I mean, for me, the only things that I had was the luck of the bullet being stopped by the journal. Yeah. We've seen that done hundreds of times in movies, so that was a little, but the way they handled it, I liked. I also feel like they didn't give Dave Bautista or Catherine Hahn enough to do.
Yes,
Catherine Hahn was very kind of straightforward, but they're minor quibbles because, like we said, like the cast was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Final scores out of 10.
10.
All right.
I love that movie.
We got our first 10 in the history.
It was one of the best movies
I've
I've watched in a long time.
I'm gonna give it a 9.5 girths.
Okay.
I'll give it a 9.
Okay.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. I think the storyline wasn't as good as the first one, but like I said, I think this opens the door, seeing between the difference between the first and the second. They can make so many more movies, and every single one is going to be so entertaining.
Yeah, they can. I'm gonna go 9.5. I like I told Shawn, I think the only movie that I enjoyed more this year was Everything Everywhere All at Once, but I don't know that I was more entertained and just like delighted leaving a movie theater this year.
So it's funny you say that because I watched these movies within 3 days of each other.
Oh yeah,
I watched Glass Onion and then I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once. I liked this one more.
Did you really?
From a pure movie going entertainment experience, I liked Glass Onion more.
You really can't go wrong. Like I said, I have not been that. The last time I think I was that like pleasantly surprised leaving a movie theater was the first night out.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Keep them coming, Rian Johnson. That is going to do it for us here on this edition of G-Rated. You can follow me at Gerald Bourget. You can follow Max at Max David Simpson. You can follow Espo at Espo, and you can follow Shawn DePaz at Shawn_DePaz. Until next time, keep it G-Rated.